Hi everyone, I'm George Jackson, executive producer and host of GovExec TV, and today's 5 questions are with Ryan Zacha. He is Principal Solutions Architect at Booz Allen. Ryan, great to have you on set here with me today.
Thank you, George.
So I'm going to give you a long-winded contextual question here. It's not for you necessarily, it's more for the audience's benefit, but around cybersecurity, there is no shortage of guidance that federal, civilian, Department of Defense agencies have to take a look at, internalize, know all about these days. A few that I'd mention are this July 10th OMB, Office of Management and Budget, ONCD, Office of the National Cyber Director memo. You've got CISA's Zero Trust Maturity Model. There are many, many others that are internal to individual agencies. As they take all that information, they look across their enterprises and try and identify challenges and areas for improvement. Just start with a table setting for me. What are we looking at across that enterprise? Where do organizations need to focus on to improve?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest ways that we take a look at that is a zero trust assessment, right? It's important to understand where you are, because it's difficult to know where to go if you haven't baselined your current state. So for a zero trust assessment, we take a look at the people, the tech, the process, the policy against the maturity model that applies to you. So if you're a civilian federal organization, you look at CISA. If you're a DoD organization, you look at what DoD CIO is doing. And you take a look at the activities that they have outlined and understand how mature you are on that scale to help you understand how to build a roadmap so that you understand the blockers or the stumbling hurdles that you may encounter to be able to get to the greatest level of maturity aligned with the guidance that is coming out of OMB and DoD to get to FY27, FY26 and further. A couple of those major stumbling blocks that we've all been dealing with is funding, right? It's always a funding situation. And that ZT assessment can really help you understand where there may be some divestiture available, right? Where can I put my money or my people against a problem that more directly aligns with the zero trust outcomes than where they are today, as well as it helps you understand and get information aligned so that you can put in for funding appropriately to fill in any gaps that you may have.
One of the key pillars of that zero trust framework from CISA, some argue the key pillar is identity. Talk a bit about identity management, how organizations successfully approach that so that they're kind of moving that cybersecurity, that zero trust framework upfield.
Identity management is the core or the undercutting principle as well to zero trust. We have to know who the users are on the network or external to the network that need access to the data within. And we need to understand that we are vetting them appropriately so that we know, one, who they are, but also what they need access to. And it's important to clearly understand how we vetted them, what is the credential that they are leveraging to be able to get access to our environment, so we can now put security controls in place to stop them from getting access to certain sensitive data. That's for both person and non-person entities. Non-person being machine-to-machine accounts. It's just as important to make sure you have visibility and control of access for those as well. And that also extends to external to your organization, be it mission partners, other nation states that we are partners with that we share sensitive data with, but then also the US populace. We need to know that we are sharing sensitive information to the right person in every instance.
One reason that visibility is important is it's easier to detect anomalous behavior inside of an organization. What does continuous monitoring have to do with our discussion today?
Continuous monitoring becomes a bigger problem in zero trust because of the amount of data that we are now generating. We, through the new tooling that we're bringing forth in Zero Trust, generate a whole bunch more logs than what we had before. So it's even more important that we have a smart data pipeline to be able to handle that data so that we can get towards continuous monitoring of it. That drives us towards the ability to do user behavior analytics so that we have a baseline of what a user's behavior is, or the devices in the network, so that we can then help our SOC or our Security Operations Center make decisions and take actions when behavior is outside of baseline, which typically points us towards a situation of a breach.
You taught me something before we went on the air here today, and that's the difference between greenfield and brownfield. Explain those terms for our audience and talk about what they have to do with the zero trust implementation itself.
So brownfield implementation is basically modernizing in place. You have existing infrastructure, existing applications, users, data, and you need to apply zero trust architecture to that existing infrastructure. Greenfield is to say, that infrastructure that I have today is old, it needs to be modernized, but it's going to be too expensive. Let me build something new, like a large lift and shift into the cloud. Build a zero trust environment there, bring the data and the people to that cloud environment to control it appropriately. Now, decision space within an organization on which one works for them varies, right? Because it can depend on how old is your current infrastructure, how much cost and time is it going to take to modernize in place, versus it may just be as simple as to slowly shut down what is there and just spin up a new environment within the cloud and slowly pull your applications and data into that environment, because that's going to end up with better functionality for your user community as well.
So zero trust isn't something you can just kind of go and buy off the shelf. It involves a lot of different pieces in order to do the kind of orchestration that an organization needs to really shore up that cybersecurity framework. So Ryan, give our audience a sense of maybe a few things that are coming down the pike. What's exciting technologically that really is going to advance this field for the better?
You said it well, right? Zero trust is not a product that you can buy, right? It is multiple products that have to be brought in. And some of those may already exist within your environment, and they just need either modernized or they need additional functionalities built into them, meaning new policies and others, and then tuned for the outcome that is zero trust. But there are certain technologies that are new to this industry or to industry or business. One of those being secure access service edge, or what is considered an always-on VPN, so that we're able to apply policy to our users and devices, no matter where those devices find themselves, sitting in a Starbucks, sitting within the office. In all cases, we're able to ubiquitously share and see and then control that endpoint and that user to the data within the organization. The second one is around data. Data is one of the most difficult things to handle within zero trust because it's everywhere. We have data throughout our organizations in every single little piece, and we don't always know what it is and how sensitive it is. So there's new tooling that most organizations need to look at to help with data discoverability, with tagging, labeling, encryption, and then ultimately control, so that we can make those decisions about attribute-based access control. Who my user is, what are the attributes that they have associated with them, how does that apply to the data that they are asking to access. Those things need to marry up, and we need to make those decisions in milliseconds to not slow down the business itself, so then we can securely ensure users and data can interact with each other in an appropriate manner. So lastly, within orchestration, we have all of these logs that we talked about in visibility and analytics. That leads us towards automation and orchestration tools that help us take all of that data and then operationalize it and make it easier for our Security Operations Center to be able to take action on that information, or frankly, automate it so that a machine can take an outcome or take an action based on differences in baseline. So as we were talking earlier, a user is now doing something within the environment, trying to access sensitive data they typically don't. A SOAR tool is able to see that difference and then automatically revoke access to that data based on the actions that are outside of that baseline that we expect.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground with Ryan Zacha, Principal Solutions Architect over at Booz Allen. Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you, George.
And thank you, our audience, for tuning in. For GovExec TV, I'm George Jackson. That was today's 5 questions with Ryan Zacha. Hope you have a great day.